The ultimate betrayal. My wedding day nightmare. Can you imagine your life crashing down in an instant? That's exactly what happened to me 2 years ago. An hour before I was supposed to marry the woman I loved, my fiancée, Alex, called off. The wedding? The real shocker? She'd been secretly seeing my brother Nathan, 40, and my parents, in their 60s. Had known and even supported it. My life felt like a movie where everything's perfect until it all goes wrong. I was a successful senior software developer. I just bought a great house in a Boston suburb and was about to marry Alex. We'd spent 5 years planning our future, building a life together, and I truly believed we were on the same page. Met Alex, a marketing executive, at a tech convention. She was smart, driven, and lit up every room. We instantly connected over our shared love for indie video games and obscure sci-fi movies. Our first date lasted 6 hours, the restaurant. Staff practically had to kick us out. Looking back, I see all the red flags I ignored, blinded by love. Her subtle contempt for service staff, the small lies about working late, her constant need to make everything about herself, and her refusal to apologize when she hurt me. She always had to get her way. But I brushed it off, telling myself that relationships require compromise, and no one is perfect. My family dynamic was another huge red flag. I'm an IT professional doing all right, but Nathan, my brother, was always the golden child. He's a successful businessman who started his own IT company right out of college, now worth millions. Growing up, I constantly heard, "Why can't you be more like Nathan?" Or "Nathan would have done it this way." My parents never hid their favoritism. I remember one Christmas when I was 15. My parents' coffee machine was breaking, so I saved all year to buy them a really good one. Nathan showed up late, handed them an envelope, and announced he'd bought them a cruise. They spent the rest of the night looking at cruise brochures, my meticulously wrapped coffee machine forgotten under the tree. That was just one example. Every decision I made was questioned, because it wasn't what Nathan would do. Every achievement was measured against his success. I should have noticed Alex's eyes light up when Nathan talked about his business. I should have seen how she slowly gravitated towards him at family gatherings, their conversations becoming more intense and personal. But I was too busy planning the wedding and dreaming of our future, the wedding day, and the crushing truth. Wedding day started like any other big day, a mix of nerves and excitement. We'd chosen a stunning vineyard outside the city with breathtaking mountain views. The flowers, the music, the meticulously planned meal, everything was ready. My phone rang as I stood in my hotel room, adjusting my tie for the 100th time. Alex's voice was cold, almost clinical. She couldn't marry me. Then came the true bombshell. Nathan was her real love. She offered no apologies, just a detached explanation about following her intuition and how they'd been seeing each other. For months, my hands shook so much I couldn't hold the phone. She hoped I'd understand someday that they tried to fight their feelings. The worst part? My parents already knew. When I arrived at the venue to deal with the fallout, Nathan had already told them that morning. They were more concerned with managing the situation and sparing themselves disgrace than warning me. My mother, Catherine, 62, even suggested perhaps it's for the best, sweetheart. You wouldn't want to marry someone who doesn't love you. My father simply nodded, more worried about his golf club friends' opinions than his son's heartbreak. Next few hours were a blur of canceled vendors, confused guests, and pitying glances. I sat in a back room, still in my wedding suit, trying to grasp how my entire life had shattered in one morning. My best man handled the practicalities, while my parents told guests there had been an unfortunate situation. It took months to fully grasp the depth of their betrayal. A mutual acquaintance revealed that my parents had actively encouraged Alex to leave me for Nathan. They told her she'd have a better life with him, that she was too good for me, and even promised her financial support if she chose Nathan. For months, they'd been plotting this behind my back, all while smiling at me and helping with wedding preparations. My friend showed me text messages where my mother arranged accidental meetings between Nathan and Alex, creating opportunities for them to be together. My mother even told Alex that Nathan had always had feelings for her and they were a better fit. Knowing Alex's career ambitions, my parents even offered to help her launch her own marketing consultancy if she went with Nathan. I walked away from everything that day. I moved to another state, quit my job, and cut off all communication with my family. I changed my email, phone number, everything. I couldn't bear to live in the house filled with memories, so I let the bank foreclose on it. The awkward encounters with mutual acquaintances and the pitying glances from coworkers who had been invited were too much. My therapist, whom I started seeing to cope with the trauma, was my only constant. It helped me understand that this wasn't just a failed relationship. It was a profound betrayal by everyone who was supposed to love and care for me. We unpacked years of family dynamics, recognizing how my parents' favoritism had impacted my relationships and self-worth. Rebuilding and a shifting horizon the last 2 years haven't been easy, but they've been crucial. I rented a small apartment in a quiet Denver neighborhood, got a new job at another tech company, and slowly started rebuilding my life. I found new friends through a local hiking group, people who embraced me for who I am now without knowing my past. I started meditating, focused on my mental health, and learned to be content on my own. I even cautiously re-entered the dating scene, just casual dinners and coffee, nothing serious. Each date reinforced that Alex's actions and my family's toxicity were about them, not my inherent worth. I learned to trust my gut and recognize red flags instead of excusing them. I poured myself into new challenges at work, earning a promotion and the appreciation of my colleagues. For the first time, my achievements weren't being measured against Nathan's. I could simply do my best work and be myself, and that was enough. My new friends appreciated me for who I am, not for who they thought I should be. I truly thought this chapter of my life was closed. I had great friends, a thriving career, and was even considering buying a home again, free from the shadow of my family's expectations. I had built a new life on my own terms. Then, last week, Alex showed up at my door. Alex's plea in a moral crossroads last week. When I opened my door and saw Alex, I barely recognized her. The polished, confident marketing executive I knew was gone, replaced by someone who looked like they hadn't slept in weeks. Her once flawless makeup couldn't hide the deep circles under her eyes, and her designer clothes were replaced by a simple sweater and pants. When I let her in, she was trembling, not from the cold Denver night, but from constant anxiety, as I soon learned. We sat in my living room, a space where I'd rebuilt my life for the past 2 years, and she told me everything. As my parents had predicted, her marriage to Nathan started like a fairy tale. He showered her with expensive gifts, helped her launch her own marketing firm, and bought her a house in Boston's wealthiest neighborhood. But the dream quickly turned into a nightmare. It turns out Nathan, everyone's favorite rich, charismatic businessman, is precisely who I always suspected, a skilled manipulator. Alex described how he gradually took over every aspect of her life behind closed doors. It started with suggestions about her business decisions, then escalated to demands about who she could work with. Eventually, he took a seat on her company's board, having the final say on all contracts. She recounted the gaslighting, how he'd move things around their house and blame her, how he'd deny conversations they'd had just hours before, and how he'd tell their friends she was losing her mind whenever she tried to confront him. The most heartbreaking part? Our parents, especially our mother Catherine, enabled all of it. Alex wiped away tears and said, "Your mom tells me I'm lucky to have Nathan, that I need to try harder to make him happy." When I told her, he threatened to take everything if I left. She said, "That's just how successful men protect their interests." Hearing about their son, my nephew, now caught in the middle, was even more devastating than Alex's own tragedy. Alex claims that even at 18 months old, Nathan is already exhibiting domineering behavior towards him. Nathan has extremely strict rules about everything: the baby's toys, colors, even when he can sleep. If the baby cries during Nathan's crucial calls, he gets furious and accuses Alex of not managing him properly. She started crying when I brought up divorce. Nathan has unequivocally stated he will ruin her if she leaves. He has the resources, the connections, and most importantly, the full backing of our parents. He's vowed to deny her custody, force her to pay his legal bills, and ensure she never works in marketing again. That's why she came to me. She needs someone to testify in court. Someone who knows the truth about our family, who can speak to Nathan's real character, the pattern of deception, and our parents' enabling behavior. She believes my testimony could help her case, especially regarding custody. No, I replied. I didn't argue or yell. I simply told her I couldn't help. I'll probably never forget the look on her face. The problem is, my therapist has spent the last 2 years teaching me that I'm not responsible for solving other people's problems. I've worked incredibly hard to set boundaries and remove my family's toxic influence from my life. The next day, my phone exploded with texts. News of Alex's visit had somehow spread. Suddenly, I was hearing from people I hadn't spoken to since the wedding fiasco. They called me cowardly, selfish, and uncaring. Alex's former maid of honor even emailed a particularly nasty note about how I was proving my family right, that I was too weak and self-centered to step up when it mattered. The hypocrisy is astounding. 2 years ago, none of these people defended me when I was the one hurting. None of them offered help or pointed out my family's manipulation. Now they want me to jeopardize my painstakingly rebuilt life and mental health to support the woman who betrayed me. One message hit especially hard. Your nephew, an innocent child, is involved, a mutual friend wrote. Alex doesn't deserve to suffer for everything he did to you, and that's why I can't sleep at night. That young guy is on my mind all the time. Being born into this chaos was not anything he requested. None of this was his choice. Alex is growing up in a home that might leave him permanently scarred if what he says is accurate, which I think is based on my experience with Nathan. I understand what it's like to be raised in Nathan's shadow. Will things go worse for his son? However, getting involved would mean reintegrating with my family. It would mean dealing with Nathan again, enduring my parents' manipulation, and potentially facing my brother's retaliation. I could lose everything. I've worked so hard to build over the last 2 years. So, I'm at a crossroads. Do I uphold the boundaries I've worked so hard to create, prioritizing my stability and mental health? Or do I put everything on the line to save a defenseless child from the same toxic family dynamics that harmed me? Honestly, I have no idea what to do. My therapist advises me to carefully consider what I can contribute practically without endangering my own well-being. But every time I try to reason with it, I see that young boy's face. I need your opinion, Reddit. Am I being selfish by not offering direct assistance? Or should I defend the peace I've finally found? What exactly would it look like to help my nephew without getting sucked into the family conflict again? Escalation and a new Path A week has passed since my last report, and things have worsened in unexpected ways. My family seems desperate to drag me back into their insanity, despite my hopes that ignoring everything would make it go away. Nathan emailed me yesterday morning. My stomach dropped when I saw his name. It was brief but menacing. I've heard that our ex-fiancée came to you in tears. If you know what's best for you, stay out of family affairs. It's been 2 years since you were involved. Don't change anything. I stared at those words for a long time, feeling a mixture of sorrow and surprisingly fury. The supposedly wealthy and successful brother is threatening his own sibling because he fears losing power. If it weren't so depressing, the irony would be funny. But Nathan wasn't the only one to break the 2-year silence. Our mother, Catherine, called me at work. Part of me still freezes when I see Mom on my caller ID, even though I should have ignored it. Her voice was sickly sweet, the same tone she used to control me as a child. Without even a hello, she began, "Sweetheart, I know Alex came to see you. Must realize that although she is going through a tough moment, it does not imply that she is thinking rationally. Nathan is making every effort to be a decent father and spouse." When I didn't answer, she changed tactics. "Your brother's company is currently at a pivotal moment. Everything he's built might be destroyed by this divorce foolishness he deserves. Better from his own brother, don't you think?" I finally found my voice, as if I were entitled to better treatment from my own family. There was an overwhelming quiet on the other end. The guilt trip followed. What's best for both of our guys has always been our goal. Families must keep together, even though parents make errors. At this moment, Nathan needs you to be the bigger person. I ended the call. Minutes later, my phone began vibrating with texts from extended family. Catherine had apparently rallied the whole clan, my aunts, uncles, and cousins, people who hadn't bothered to check on me. After the wedding fiasco, suddenly became very concerned about family unity. A cousin wrote, "Neither of your parents is growing any younger. Do you want them to worry about raising their grandchild in a dysfunctional household for the rest of their lives?" Another message came, "True men don't harbor resentment. Be the larger person." My father's sister sent me the most vexing message. "Although your brother erred, he granted Alex all of her wishes. You're supporting her conduct, and she's just being ungrateful." It's amazing how they've created this story in which I'm the bad guy for not supporting their idealized family image. They will disregard any proof of Nathan's abusive behavior because they are so committed to his image as the successful son. Then something truly shocking happened tonight. Former coworker who still works with Nathan contacted me, claimed to have seen several unsettling things happen at work, including Nathan hurling explosive outbursts at staff members, covertly threatening them, and falsifying financial records. He claims that a number of workers have left because of the poisonous workplace, but Nathan's attorneys have them bound by non-disclosure agreements. According to this coworker, if I assisted Alex, perhaps others might be more inclined to speak up about Nathan's actions. He did, however, caution me that Nathan had been asking about my new life in Denver, such as my address and place of employment. The danger is obvious. Nathan will target my new life if I assist Alex. He has the means to seriously challenge me personally and professionally. And as always, our parents would be there for him. I've put forth too much effort to create this tranquil life. My therapist says I've made amazing strides in establishing healthy boundaries. I have true friends who embrace me for who I am, and my career is going great. It scares me to think of losing all that. However, my colleagues' remarks about further possible witnesses continue to cross my mind. This is about more than just Alex and my nephew. If what he says is accurate, dozens of people might be harmed by Nathan's misuse of authority. I've been recording everything. The intimidating email, the deceptive phone call, and the flying monkey attacks from family members. My therapist says this might be significant, although she tells me that I'm not required to burn myself alive to keep others warm. Not only should I assist Alex, but I also have a moral duty to call out Nathan's actions before he causes more harm. But am I prepared for the impending storm? I need your advice, Reddit. How can you oppose someone who has all the resources, family support, and power on their side? And is it worth putting everything I've rebuilt at risk in order to act morally? A resolution and lasting PCI struggled with what to do for several restless nights after my last update, but not in the way anyone anticipated. The matter has settled itself. I want to tell you everything that transpired and the reasons behind my decisions. First, I must clarify a crucial point. I had a breakthrough session with my therapist following Catherine's deceptive call and Nathan's threatening email. We talked about how my family has always followed the same pattern: identify a problem, pressure me to resolve it, and then use my assistance to keep their poisonous system in place. She made it clear to me that getting directly involved would only make this cycle worse. But she also made a very important point. There are ways to help that don't involve me re-engaging with my family's manipulation or sacrificing my mental health. That's when I decided what to do. I sent Child Protective Services CPSA thorough, anonymous report. I didn't make this choice lightly. I spent 3 days compiling all the information I had, including screenshots of the family's nasty texts, emails, and Nathan's threatening letter. Incorporated all of Alex's information regarding Nathan's domineering actions toward their son. I described how our family has a history of condoning abuse and hiding issues to keep up appearances. The report covered more ground than merely the current state of affairs. I gave background information on Nathan's manipulative tendencies and how our parents have traditionally condoned his actions. I gave specific examples, such as how they concealed his college drunk driving episode, how they settled a former employee's harassment lawsuit, and how they have continuously exploited their resources and connections to shield him from repercussions. Additionally, I sent proof of possible financial irregularities that my former coworker had brought up. I thought this gave a more complete picture of Nathan's personality and the depth of his manipulation. Even though it might not have a direct bearing on the CPS investigation, waiting was the most difficult part. Since I was reporting anonymously, I knew I wouldn't receive updates on the status of CPS investigations, which take time. However, I had at least taken a step that would benefit my nephew, while still respecting my personal boundaries. Then things began to move more quickly than I had anticipated. Nathan sent me a flurry of angry messages 3 days after I submitted the report. His emails became more and more erratic. "You think you can hide behind anonymity? I know it was you. You've just made the biggest mistake of your life. Make sure you never work in tech again. You think you're safe in Denver? Watch your back. You're dead to this family. Remember that you chose this." Catherine had a different but no less informative reaction. "I'm still troubled by the voicemail she left. How could you do this to your own family? We gave you everything, and this is how you repay us." Nathan is devastated. They're investigating him like a common criminal. His reputation could be ruined. I hope you're happy with yourself. What's interesting, none of the accusations were refuted by any of them. They were upset with me because I dared to reveal the truth, not because I made unfounded accusations. After mostly remaining mute during this ordeal, my father suddenly revealed his actual nature in a letter. He threatened to remove me from his will if I didn't fix this situation immediately. His lawyer wrote the letter. I recognized the hypocrisy of threatening to disown someone who had already left the family. Then Alex sent a surprise message. Hers was shorter than the others and had a distinct tone. "I know it was you. Thank you. I'm sorry for everything." I was more affected by those 9 words than by all of Nathan's threats put together. They were the first sincere admission of guilt I had ever gotten from anyone connected to this catastrophe. I learned through rumors that Alex had the leverage she required because of CPS's involvement. Nathan's threats of assuming complete custody were less significant because an inquiry was still underway. While the inquiry is ongoing, she was able to obtain emergency temporary custody of their child. The response from the family has been explosive. The complete force of flying monkeys has been unleashed. My inbox is overflowing with messages from distant cousins I haven't spoken to in years, accusing me of betraying my own blood and ruining the family. On social media, former family friends are expressing their sadness at the way jealousy splits families apart in ambiguous, passive-aggressive condolence posts. The problem is that I'm not as affected by their responses as I used to be. Never had this level of clarity before, thanks to 2 years of treatment and self-work. Their manipulating techniques are evident to me. Every threat, guilt trip, and effort to get me to reconsider my choice only serves to prove that I chose the right one. My family is upset because I refuse to fulfill my designated part in their dysfunction, not because I have harmed them, my therapist pointed out. I violated the pattern they have been using for decades by opting to safeguard my nephew through legitimate procedures instead of taking part in their cover-up. The fallout has been dramatic, but illuminating. I've had to react to the circumstance by taking a number of measures to make sure they were aware of any threats. I first alerted the security people at my employer about the probable harassment to safeguard myself against any possible reprisals. I also started working with a lawyer. I've had to keep my social media presence totally secret and bolster my personal security measures because of the situation. I didn't want to perform these actions, but they were essential for my security and comfort. But I've also received unanticipated help. A number of cousins who had previously remained silent have privately expressed their pride in me for confronting the family. I've received calls from 2 of Nathan's former workers who want to provide statements in favor of Alex after hearing the whole story. Even some old friends who had previously condemned my choice have changed their minds. Above all, I am comfortable with my choice. Yes, there may be repercussions. Nathan may attempt to undermine my career. The family may actually carry out their threats. However, for the first time in my life, I'm not basing my decisions on my fear of their reactions. To whoever messaged me and said that I'm taking the coward's way out by reporting anonymously rather than confronting them personally, you're missing the point. This has nothing to do with conflict or retaliation. It was about figuring out how to support them without putting my own mental health at risk or being entangled in their poisonous relationship again. I have no idea what will occur next, Custody disputes can last many months or even years, and CPS investigations can take many different paths. However, I am aware that I upheld my personal boundaries while doing everything I could to protect an innocent youngster. I discovered a technique to assist without having to burn myself alive to keep others warm. Thank you to everyone who has been reading this narrative and giving guidance. I learned from your encouragement that sometimes doing the right thing doesn't mean being the most dramatic or combative. Sometimes it comes down to figuring out how to protect yourself while yet bringing about change. Keep in mind that you don't have to choose between defending yourself and assisting others if you find yourself in a similar circumstance. Even if it isn't immediately apparent, there is frequently a middle ground. Furthermore, just because you were born into poisonous family systems doesn't mean you have to keep them up. Let me conclude by saying, I believe that the worst thing that could happen to me was losing my fiancée to my brother 2 years ago. I now see that it served as the wake-up call I needed to escape a dysfunctional family structure. Your lowest point can occasionally serve as the starting point for a better existence. This will be my last update. I believe I made the proper decision for myself and my nephew, regardless of what occurs next. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.